The metallic creak of the Durrell ship echoed through the silent void outside the window. The endless expanse of stars glowed like cold, distant embers, offering no comfort to the alien woman and her young daughter. Their spaceship had been adrift. For days its systems were barely functioning with life, support dwindling to a dangerously low level. As Ada Mother leaned over the control console, her large violet eyes scanning the cracked screen for any sign of hope, but it was useless. The ship, a simple cargo ship, was never meant to traverse deep space. After a catastrophic engine failure, they had strayed far off course and were now stranded all alone. Her daughter had been wandering no more than 6 cycles, sitting calmly in the co-pilot seat, clutching a small stuffed animal to her chest, her large, innocent eyes blinking between the stars outside and the worried face of her mother. "Mom, when are we going home?" Y's voice was soft, filled with the fragile hope that only a child could maintain in such extreme circumstances. She forced a smile out, her heart heavy with fear. "Soon, my little star, soon." She ran a hand through her daughter's silky hair, trying to hide her growing desperation. In truth, she knew their chances of survival were slim. Their distress signal had been transmitting for days, but they were deep in uncharted space. The chance of anyone picking up their signal was minuscule. Worse, the ship's oxygen supply was critically low, and without a miracle, they had hours, not days, left. Suddenly, the console beeped softly at first, then more insistently. She blinked, her heart skipped a beat. Was it a malfunction, or had they really received her signal? She touched the screen silently, praying to whatever cosmic deity might be listening. The ship's sensors showed a nearby ship approaching, of human origin. Judging by the design, she came out hard. The humans of race were a mystery to most in the galaxy. They had a reputation for being resilient, almost reckless in their quest for survival. Some spoke of them with admiration, others with fear. But at this moment she came out. She had no choice but to hope they were as compassionate as they said the stories. The comm system crackled to life. A male voice filtered through the static. "An unidentified ship. This is Captain Jonas Walker of the Starship Horizon. We received your distress signal. Need help?" Si's breathing came in gasps. His voice shook as he answered, "Yes, Captain Walker, our ship is. We are stranded, my daughter, and I need help." There was a pause, and her heart had pounded in the silence. Finally, the captain's voice became calm and firm again. "Understood. We are fixing your position. Hold on tight. We will get you out of there." Salia exhaled a shaky sigh. Tears of relief welled up in her eyes. She turned to Yaira. His voice was soft, but full of hope. "We are going to be okay, Iara. Help is coming." Jira smiled, although she did not fully understand the gravity of the situation. To her it was just another adventure, another story to tell as they returned home. Salia wished she could share her daughter's innocence, but the weight of her terrible experience was overwhelming her. 2 minutes later, the human ship appeared outside the window, elegant, and her imposing cargo ship dwarfed a marvel of human engineering. Salia had heard of such vessels, though she had never seen one up close. The starbound Horizon looked more like a battleship than a tall rescue vessel, gleaming with cold efficiency. As they began docking procedures, Salia looked at her daughter, who stared in awe at the human ship. "Remember," Air said softly, "we must be polite. These humans are different than us, but they are here to help. Stay close to me." Jira nodded her head, gripping her stuffed animal tightly. She was curious, but trusted her mother. The airlock swung open, revealing 2 figures standing on the other side. The first was a tall, broad-shouldered man in a smart human uniform, Captain Jonas Walker. His eyes were sharp, assessing the situation with a quick glance, but his expression softened when he saw Salia and her daughter. "Welcome aboard," he said in a warm voice. Despite the sternness of his voice's appearance, "You are safe now." Salia nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "Thank you." But as they crossed the threshold into the human ship, she couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would change their lives forever. As Salia and Yaira entered the starbound Horizon, the stark contrast between the human ship and their Darrow cargo ship became immediately apparent. The hallways were wide and well-lit. They hummed with the soft sounds of high-tech machinery. Everything seemed clean and designed for purpose rather than comfort. Salia could feel the hum of the ship's powerful engines beneath her feet. It was a comforting sensation, reminding her that they were no longer adrift in the void. Captain Jonas Walker led them down the hallway, his tall figure casting a long shadow in the artificial light. Salia glanced at him out of the corner of her eye, her mind racing with a mix of gratitude and apprehension. She knew little of humans beyond stories, tales of their fierce determination, their ingenuity, and unpredictable nature. Some alien cultures admired them for these traits, others feared them. Their ship, Walker said, breaking the silence, was in bad shape. You're lucky we found you when we spent another few hours. And well, let's just say it would have been a lot harder to get you both out. Salia gulped, nodding loudly. We were running out of oxygen. He admitted he didn't think anyone would hear our signal out here. Walker looked at Jira, who was still clutching her stuffed animal tightly. The girl looked at him with wide, curious eyes. He smiled briefly, before turning his attention back to Salia. Okay, you're safe now. We'll take you to sickbay. We'll make sure you're both okay. After that, we can discuss what's next. They came to a small room near the back of the ship, where a female officer in a white medical uniform greeted him on his name tag, Lieutenant Sarah Kim, and her eyes softened as she looked at Jira. Let's get you both checked out, she said, gesturing gently for Salia and Yaira to sit on the exam table. Salia kept a protective arm around her daughter as the doctors ran their scans. The soft hum of the equipment was almost soothing after the strain of their ordeal. Lieutenant Kim examined the data with a nod of approval. You are both a little dehydrated and fatigued, but otherwise in good health, she said, handing Salia a bottle of water. Drink this, will help restore your electrolytes. Salia accepted it gratefully and took a long sip before offering some to Jira. The girl drank eagerly. The relief was evident on her small face. Once the medical checks were completed, Captain Walker reappeared in the doorway. His expression was now more relaxed. You will need to get some rest, he said. His tone was softer than before, but I'm sure you have questions. We can talk once you've had time to recover. As she hesitated, her mind swirling with uncertainty. She knew she should be grateful for her rescue, but she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that she and Jira were now at the mercy of these humans. What will happen to us? She asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Walker's gaze softened. We don't have a habit of leaving people stranded, he said firmly. They will take you to the nearest safe station where you can get help, or we can help you contact your people. Either way, you are not alone anymore. Salia nodded. A mix of relief and uncertainty settled in her chest. She knew there was no turning back. The wreck of her ship was a thing of the past now. She and Jira would have to navigate whatever came next with the humans. After a few more minutes of quiet conversation, Walker gestured for the doctor to show Salia and Yara to their temporary quarters. Get some rest, he said as they left. We will talk more in the morning. Salia followed the doctor, her thoughts racing with anger. She clung to his side, calm but quiet. They were led to a small but comfortable room, a stark contrast to the cold, cramped cabin of their own ship. It was modest, with 2 beds and a small window that looked out to the stars. As she walked out, she tucked Yaira in the bed. The little girl whispered, Mom, we are going to stay with the human. Salia. She ran a hand through her daughter's hair, trying to keep her voice steady. For now, yes, but we will find a way to get back home. These humans are helping us. Yara nodded, satisfied for the moment. Within minutes, she was asleep, her small body rising and falling in the steady rhythm of sleep. However, Salia couldn't rest so easily. She stood by the window looking at the stars once again, though now with a different feeling, not of hopelessness, but of uncertainty. What tomorrow would bring. Would these humans really help them? And what kind of future awaited her and her daughter, now that their fate was intertwined with these mysterious beings? Her thoughts lingered on Captain Walker. There was something about him, something different from the cold, efficient image she had heard of humans. Had he saved them? Yes. But there was more beneath his calm exterior, something she couldn't put into words. Salia closed her eyes for a moment, wanting to relax. Tomorrow she would find the answers she sought. For now, all she could do was rest her mind, going over the events of the day and the uncertain path that awaited her. Salia woke up startled to faint. The lighting of the ship's quarters was unfamiliar to her, and she swore it took her a moment to remember where the human ship's starbound horizon was. She sat up in bed, her heart still heavy with the remnants of her dream. In the corner of the room, Iari slept soundly, her small figure curled up under the thin blanket, clutching her stuffed animal. The door opened with a soft hiss, and Salia tensed instinctively. Captain Walker stood there, his gaze briefly lingering on Yura. Before meeting Salia's eyes, good morning, she said quietly, keeping her tone soft so as not to wake the girl. I didn't want to disturb her, but we'll be reaching a safer system soon. Faki would like to join me on the bridge. Salia hesitated for a moment. She looked at her daughter. Iare had been through so much the past few days, didn't want to leave her alone, but the chance to see the operations of the human ship was too valuable to pass up. Her worry, Walker added, we can have one of the doctors stay With her, if you wish, she'll be safe. Salia nodded slowly. Very well, she stood up, and she adjusted the simple clothing the humans had provided her. I will join you. In a few minutes later, Salia found herself walking alongside Captain Walker through the maze of illos of the ship. The human crew members who passed barely glanced at her, focused on their tasks. It was strange, so different from her people, where curiosity about others was common. These humans were disciplined, efficient. They moved with purpose and precision. Are you calm? Walker watched her soft voice as they walked. I imagine this must all be overwhelming. Salia nodded slightly. Her eyes scanned the surroundings. It is very different. She has never seen a ship like this. Its technology is impressive. Walker smiled slightly. The humans adapt quickly. We have had to enter the bridge. And Salia was amazed by the elegance of the technology that surrounded her. Its large screen showed detailed star maps, navigation data, and other routes. She could not fully understand. The crew was focused but calm, working together without problem. One of the officers turned and gave a brief nod to Walker. We are approaching the nearest safe system, Captain. There are no signs of hostiles. Walker confirmed the report before leading Salia to a large window in front of the bridge. Beyond, the glass stars turned into a blur of light was hypnotic, but the attention from CA, she kept turning back to the humans around her. They were very different from her people, more intense, more overdone. Walker must have sensed her unease. You wonder what will happen next. Salia nodded. I don't know what to expect. I'm grateful for your help, but we're far from home. You are walkers, okay? But we won't abandon you. We'll take you to a place where you can find your people, or at least make contact. You'll be safe. Until then, why? Asked Salia. Her voice was calm but direct. Why would you help us? You don't even know us. Walker turned to look at her fully, his expression thoughtful. Because it's the right thing to do here in the depths of space. We all have to look out for each other. The galaxy is a dangerous place. Sometimes we all have. Salia studied him for a long moment. His words resonated with her, though they didn't completely calm her unease. Where we come from, humans are a mystery. Some think you're reckless, others as dangerous. Walker chuckled softly. I've heard that before. We have a bit of a reputation, but we're not that different from anyone else. We want to survive like us. Under her gaze, it's more than survival to us. I have my daughter, who to think about everything I do is for her. Walker's expression softened. I understand you're doing what any father would do, protecting his daughter, and I'll make sure she's safe. There was still sincerity in his voice. He turned on Salia. She expected humans to be cold and indifferent, but Walker was different. He was kind, almost protective in his own way. It unsettled her, but also gave her a little hope. Just in a young IGN approached holding a data pad. Captain, we've received a signal. It's weak, but it seems to be from an unregistered ship near the system. We're approaching. Could it be pirates? Her attitude changed instantly. Her expression hardened. Prepare for a possible fight. Turn on your weapons and prepare your shields. SIA's heart skipped a beat. Pirates, she asked. The alarm took over her voice. Walker turned to her. His tone was calm but firm. We could be entering a dangerous situation. Pirates tend to target ships like ours, but don't worry, we can handle it. Salia swallowed her fear. She had heard stories of pirate brothers, marauders, plundering the edge of space. If they were truly out there, she knew the danger was very real. As the bridge hummed with activity, Walker gave her a reassuring nod. Stay here, you'll be safe. If things get tough, we'll move you and your daughter to a safe area. She nodded, although her heart was pounding in her chest. The tension on the bridge was palpable as the crew prepared for the worse. She stood by the window, staring out at the distant stars, her thoughts racing. At that moment, Sia realized that whatever fate had in store for her and Jira, they were no longer adrift. They were in the hands of these humans, now their mysterious allies. In the cold expanse of space, the atmosphere of the ship grew thick with anticipation. She could feel the tension on the bridge as Captain Walker and his crew prepared for whatever might come. Next, her eyes darted to the stars outside and found, holding her breath involuntarily, the thought of ruthless scavenger pirates thriving in the lawless regions of space terrified her of approaching the unregistered vessel. The captain, one of the officers, announced from the helm, his voice clipped and businesslike. Walker took a step forward. Her eyes narrowed as the sensors showed a ship at the edge of her scan range. It was small and sleek. Its silhouette indicated a ship designed more for speed than endurance. Probably a pirate ship. Sally noted the starboard horizon, and the new ship, Walker's ship, was a marvel of human engineering built for strength and endurance. The pirate ship, the ship, however, gave off an air of adoration, like a wolf lurking in the shadows. Shields at full capacity, weapons online. Walker ordered in a calm but firm voice. The crew moved quickly, their movements Synchronized, like a well-rehearsed dance, her heart had quickened. As she watched, she felt the need to protect Jira grow. Within her, she had to stay strong for her daughter, but the uncertainty made her nod. And if the situation got out of hand, Captain Walker turned his head slightly toward her, as if sensing her unease. "Don't worry," he said in a low, soothing voice. "We've dealt with pirates before. They usually look for an easy target. We're noticed." Salia nodded slightly, trying to suppress her rising anxiety. She knew little of human combat tactics, but if the stories were true, they were formidable warriors. Still, she couldn't help but fear for Jira. The bridge lights flickered briefly as the ship made contact with the pirate ship's communication systems. A garbled voice broke the static. "This is the Raven Fong. You're invading our territory. Prepare to be boarded, or we will blow your ship to pieces." Walker's expression remained unchanged, but there was a flash of disdain in his eyes. He pressed a button on the control panel. His response was calm but with a hint of authority. "This is Captain Jonas Walker of the Starbound Horizon. We do not recognize your claim to this sector. Stand down or you will regret it." There was a long pause at the other end, and Salia could hear the faint hum of the ship's systems. The silence filled her stomach. He twisted into a knot as he imagined what might happen next in anger. He stirred slightly in his sleep, but did not wake up. Salia moved to his daughter's side, protecting her instinctively. "Captain," the same confused voice answered him, now full of venom. "Do you think you can threaten us? We will show you what real power looks like." Without warning, the pirate ship fired a warning shot, just a single energy blast that swept past the Starbound Horizon close enough to cause the shutter of the Hlee to snap. Audi grabbed the edge of the console as the ship Walker shook under the brief impact. Walker's expression darkened. He nodded sharply to his weapons officer. "Fire a warning shot. Make it count." The officer hit a sequence on the control panel, and a moment later the Starbound Horizon unleashed a powerful volley of energy bolts. Unlike the pirate shot, this one hit its mark, grazing the side of the pirate ship and causing sparks to fly. The damage was minimal, but the message was clear. "We are not here to fight," Walker said. His voice called out. "But if you insist, we will end this quickly." She walked out. She couldn't help but be in awe of his composure. There was no hesitation. There was no panic in his actions. He was a man who had seen many battles before, and his crew responded with unwavering confidence. The pirate ship faltered. She walked out. She could feel the tension building as the seconds passed, each one heavier than the last. Her eyes quickly moved to the window where the pirate ship seemed to float in the void, deciding on its next move. Finally, the confused voice returned, this time more cautious. "We will let you have your time, Captain, but don't think you will always be so lucky." And with that, the pirate ship turned and sped away into the darkness, disappearing from view in moments. Walker exhaled silently, the only visible sign of relief. "Keep an eye on them." She ordered one of the officers, "Make sure they don't turn around." She turned to this expression on her face. He warned a little. It was over. Salia nodded. Although her heart was still racing, she looked at Jira, who remained peacefully asleep, blissfully unaware of the danger that had just happened. "Thank you," Salia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't." Walker shook his head. "You don't need to thank me. We're in this together now. I promised I would get you and your daughter to safety, and I will." Salia looked at him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes, the weight of everything, her escape from near death, the uncertainty of her future still weighed on her shoulders. But for the first time in days, she felt a little effluve of hope. "I don't understand humans," she said softly, almost to herself. "So different." Walker raised an eyebrow, smiling slightly different as Salia struggled to find the right words. "You are unpredictable, resilient, and always seem to look out for each other, even strangers like us." Walker shrugged lightly. "We've learned the hard way that you don't survive alone here. No one does." Before Salia could answer, another officer approached the captain. "Sir, we have arrived at the secure system. There are no signs of hostile activity. We are safe." Wera felt satisfied. "Well, set a course for the nearest outpost and prepare to dock." The officer saluted and returned to his post. Dahlia felt a wave of relief wash over her. For the first time in days, they were heading to safety, somewhere they could rest without fear of drifting into the unknown. As the ship adjusted its course, Dahlia looked at the stars once more. They were no longer the cold, distant points of light that had haunted her during her endless drift. Now, they seemed a little warmer, a little more hopeful, but even as relief washed over her, Dahlia knew deep down that this was just the beginning of a journey. She had never anticipated that she had been saved by humans. She barely understood, but something told her that her life was about to change in ways. She could not yet imagine the star-bound horizon glided gracefully towards the outpost, a bustling hub of activity, surrounded by a scattering of ships and small markings. As she walked out, she stood by the window. She couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and fear. They were finally safe. However, the reality of being among humans and in a strange world filled her with uncertainty and anger. She moved to her side, rubbing her eyes, as she woke up from her dream. "Mom, where are we?" she asked, her voice still heavy from sleep. Salia smiled at her daughter, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "We are safe. Now, little star, we are on a human ship, and they are taking us to a place where we can rest." My eyes opened wide. Curiosity replaced the remnants of sleep. "There are other children. There will be friends." Salia hesitated, unsure of what to say. "I hope so. Find out together. It's okay." Yura nodded. Her innocence was a bright spot in Ca's heart. No matter how dire their circumstances, his daughter's spirit remained intact. As the ship docked, the atmosphere on the bridge hummed with activity. The crew members prepared for the arrival of supplies and the transfer of Salia and Yira to the outpost. Salia felt a surge of gratitude towards Captain Walker and his crew for their kindness and bravery. Once the ship was secured, Walker turned to Salia. "We will disembark soon. I will make sure that you and your daughter are taken care of. The outpost has facilities for travelers, and will make sure that you have what you need." Ca's heart filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Captain. You have no idea what this means to us." She offered a reassuring smile. "It is my duty. You've been through a lot, and I want to make sure that you are safe." With a nod, Salia looked at Yura, who was staring out the window, mesmerized by the sight of the bustling outpost. Ca's heart ached at the thought of how much she had supported her daughter, and yet here they were on the verge of something new. As they disembarked from the star-bound horizon, the fresh air greeted them. Salia stepped out into the vibrant atmosphere of the outpost, taking in the sights and sounds around them. The humans moved with purpose, and the mix of various alien species filled the space with a sense of oneness. The bustling marketplace, the sound of laughter, and the sensation of unfamiliar food created a whirlwind of sensations. "Wow!" Gilda exclaimed, her eyes wide in wonder. "Look at all the colors, Mom." Salia laughed softly, her heart lifted at her daughter's enthusiasm. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" They walked side by side, taking in the sights. As they were escorted by one of the star-bound horizon crew members, he guided them through the busy paths that meandered between stalls filled with trinkets, clothing, and food from across the galaxy. Each step felt like a step away from the horrors of their past and towards a brighter future. They finally came to a welcoming structure with a large sign. "What did travelers rest?" say. The interior was cozy, filled with warm light and the hum of conversation. Zalia could already feel the tension ease from her shoulders. Walker walked in behind them, still in his uniform, but with a more relaxed demeanor now. "This place is safe," he assured them that they will be provided with food, shelter, and anything else they may need. "I will return in a few hours to check on you." "Thank you, Captain Zalia," he said seriously. His voice was full of emotion. "You have done so much for us. I can't express my gratitude enough." He smiled kindly. "You are welcome. Just take care. That's the important thing." Walker left him, and the cap passed his hands to the staff. Zalia turned to Yura. "Are you hungry, little star?" Ira nodded vigorously. Her excitement was about to overflow. "Can we try the food, Mom?" "Please, of course," Zolly replied, laughing at her daughter's enthusiasm. "Let's find something delicious." They approached the counter, where a kind woman greeted them. "Welcome. What can I get you?" "We have a variety of dishes from all over the galaxy." Eyes sparkled as she pointed to a plate that looked like a colorful array of fruits and grains. "That looks so cute." Salia nodded, unable to hide her smile. "We'll take it, please." While they waited for their food, Salia couldn't help but feel a sense of warmth spread through her. Maybe they could build a new life here. It was a strange world full of new experiences, but the kindness of the humans and the safety of the outpost gave her hope. Once they had their food, they found a quiet corner to sit and enjoy their meal. Ir dove into her plate with delight, exclaiming at each new taste. Salia watched her with her heart swollen with pride and love, but in the midst of the joy, a thought tugged at her mind. What would happen next? They were safe for now, but what would the future hold for them in this strange, unknown new world. It loomed ahead like the vastness of space. Will we always stay here, Mama Jera asked her with her mouth full of fruit. Salia hesitated. I don't know yet, Iar. We'll figure it out together. What matters is that we're safe, and we have each other. Jera smiled at her with shining eyes. It's okay as long as I'm with you. I'm happy. Her heart said swelled at this moment, surrounded by the chaos of the outpost. She found a flash of hope. Together they would navigate the challenges ahead. They had been given a second chance, and she would do everything in her power to make sure it was not wasted. With renewed determination, Salia took a deep breath and smiled at her daughter, ready to accept whatever came next in her new life among the stars. The following days of the traveler's break were a blur of activity and adjustment. Salia and Jira settled into their new routine, exploring the outpost, meeting various species, and learning to navigate the strange but welcoming environment. The humans they encountered were generally warm and open, offering help and kindness that eased Sia's lingering fears. They lit up in me no band in this vibrant atmosphere. She befriended a group of children, some human and some alien, who taught her games and shared their stories. Their curling sounded like music, a sound that warmed Sia's heart even as it reminded her of the uncertainty they still faced. One night, as she stepped out, she tucked Jira into bed in her modest room at Traveler's Rest. Her daughter asked Mom if we could stay here forever. Zalia hesitated. Her heart started with the weight of reality. I don't know, my little star. We have to see what opportunities arise. Maybe we'll find a new home, or maybe we'll have to keep exploring. But for now, we're safe, and that's what matters. Jira nodded her head, closed her eyes. As she fell asleep, Salia sat by the bed for a moment longer, feeling the ache of her daughter's innocence and the weight of her own responsibilities. The next morning, Sia decided it was time to explore beyond the walls of Traveler's Rest. She wanted to find work, something to contribute to her new life. After breakfast, she headed towards the market square, where the murmur of conversation mixed with the enticing aroma of various dishes. The market was a cacophony of life, with vendors calling out their wares and creatures from different worlds mingling together. Salia wandered among the stalls, taking in the vibrant colors and intricate designs of clothing, tools, and food. Her heart raced with the possibilities that lay ahead. They approached. After a few inquiries, she found a vendor selling handmade crafts. The owner of the stall, a middle-aged human woman named Lila, greeted her warmly. Looking for work, are you? She asked with a knowing smile. Yes, I am, Salia replied in a firm voice. Despite her nerves, I can help with crafts or anything else you need. Lila studied her for a moment, then nodded. I could use an extra set of hands. I'm working on a large order for an upcoming festival. The payment isn't much, but it will help you get settled in. Salia felt a wave of relief wash over her. She would be grateful for the opportunity. As they began working together, she shared stories of the outpost, its history, and the diverse cultures that blended within its walls. Salia listened intently, absorbing every detail. The more she learned, the more she felt a connection to this place. The days turned into weeks, and Salia settled into her role of making products and building relationships. Iari thrived in school. Her curiosity led her to discover new friends and experiences. However, in the quiet moment, Sia's mind often wandered back to their previous life, fear, isolation, uncertainty. One night, when they returned to their room after a day at the market, the excitement overflowed. Mom, we learned about humans today. Did you know that they have a festival where they celebrate their harvest? Salia smiled, her heart filled with pride. Yes, I have heard about it. They call it Thanksgiving, right? We can go. I want to see it all. Eyes sparkle with excitement. Salia paused at the thought of the festival. It would be a significant cultural experience, but the thought of being among so many people of different species made her nervous. Still, she couldn't deny her daughter this chance to explore. Of course, we can go, Salia said, forcing a smile. It will be a wonderful adventure. The day of the festival arrived, and Salia dressed Jira in a new outfit. She had made a vibrant tunic with intricate patterns reminiscent of home. Ir looked radiant. Her excitement was contagious as they joined the crowd in the market square. As they entered the heart of the festival, Salia was struck by the vibrancy of the celebrations. The colorful banners adorned the stalls, and the air was thick with the aroma of roasted meats, baked goods, and sweets. Laughter and music filled the atmosphere, and the joy was palpable. Yara ran off to explore. Her laughter mingled with the melodies of the festivities. Salia looked at her daughter, a mix of pride and anxiety. She walked around. It was a relief to see Jira so happy, but her heart said it still carried the weight of her past. As the day went on, Sally interacted with the vendors, exchanged stories, and learned about the various customs of the humans. tried new foods, danced to unfamiliar tunes, and felt a sense of belonging slowly take root in her heart. But as dusk approached, the atmosphere changed. An announcement rang out across the plaza, calling for all attendees to gather for the evening ceremony. Zalia felt a surge of excitement and apprehension. Her gaze scanned the crowd for Jira's mother, and he called out to her, waving excitedly from the front of the gathering. Her heart said it swelled as she ran to join her daughter. The crowd fell over when an elderly human man stepped onto the stage. A figure exuding wisdom and grace began to speak about gratitude, community, and the importance of connection between cultures. Sally listened intently. Her heart was touched by his words. As the old man spoke, Salia felt the lingering shadows of her past begin to dissolve and are replaced by a sense of hope. Maybe this wasn't just a haven, but a new home, one where she and Jira could truly belong. The ceremony concluded with a spectacular display of lights that lit up the night sky and cast colorful reflections on the faces of the crowd. Yara gasped in amazement. Her eyes widened in wonder. Sia wrapped her arms around her daughter and pulled her close as they both marveled at the beauty that lay before them in that moment, surrounded by laughter, joy, and a sense of community. Say realized they had crossed the threshold. They were no longer just survivors. They were beginning to thrive. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. As the lights of the festival flickered above, Salia whispered to Jira, "We are home now, my little star. We are home." The days after the festival brought a renewed sense of purpose for Salia and Jira. As the vibrant colors of the festival faded, they settled into a rhythm of life in the traveler's rest that had begun to feel less like a temporary shelter and more like a real home. Salia continued her work with Lila, developing designs, intricate and developing skills she didn't know she possessed. The more she created, the more confident she became. Layla recognized CA's talent and encouraged her to start selling her crafts at the market. "You have a gift, Salia. The people here will love your work," Lila said. Her voice was filled with genuine faith, with a mix of excitement and fear. Salia set up her own stall carefully. She arranged her creations, colorful fabrics, delicate embellishments, and intricate jewelry inspired by her home world. As she displayed her work, a mix of apprehension and anticipation, she walked through the first day of her stall opening. Jira stood by her side, beaming with pride. "Look, Mom, everyone is coming to see your beautiful things." The morning was filled with a steady stream of curious customers, some human, some alien, all drawn to the vibrant colors and unique designs. Salia felt a feeling of joy as people admired her creations, striking up conversations and sharing stories. A young human girl named Mine approached the stall, her eyes wide with admiration. "These are impressive. Where did you learn to make them?" Salia smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "I learned from my mother that she was an artist on my home planet, and that she wanted to bring a piece of my culture here." Mia nodded, her expression horrible. "You've done an amazing job. I would love to buy this," she said, pointing to a delicate bracelet adorned with sparkling beads that reflected the light like stars. As they exchanged currency, Salia felt a surge of gratitude. This small transaction represented so much more than a sale. It was a connection, a step towards integrating her past with her present. Weeks turned into months, and CIA's reputation grew. Of course, it became a gathering place, a place where people shared stories, laughter, and Yura often invited Yara to help. And together, they created new pieces, mixing traditions of their homeland with the influences of their new surroundings. One afternoon, while working on a particularly intricate design, Salia noticed a group of children playing nearby. Amongst themselves, Yara was there. Their laughter echoed as she joined in a game of tag. CIA's heart swelled with pride and relief. Her daughter was happy, thriving, and forming bonds with others. As the sun, it was beginning to get dark, painting the sky in shades of orange, and Rosa came out. She took a moment to breathe. Everything in this place was no longer just a temporary shelter. It was becoming a part of their story, a place where they could rebuild their lives and dreams that night come out. She sat with Yola in a grassy space, overlooking the market. The bustling sounds of laughter and music filled the air, and the stars began to twinkle overhead. "Do you remember the night we got here?" "Come out?" she asked in a soft voice. Angrily, she nodded her head. Her eyes sparkled with the memory. "She was so scared, but you said we would be okay. Come out." She smiled, pulling her daughter closer. "And we found friends, a community, and a home." Just then a familiar figure approached. Captain Jonas Walker, the man who had rescued them so many Months ago greeted them with a warm hello. She smiled. And came out, she felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. It's good to see you both again, he said in his voice full of genuine warmth. I've been hearing wonderful things about your crafts. Come out. Thank you, Captain. I appreciate your kindness. More than you know, come out, he replied with his heart full of gratitude. I wanted to ask if you would like to join us for dinner in the community hall tonight. He invited us. We would love to have them both. Eyes lit up. Can we, Mom, please? Zalia hesitated for a moment. The echoes of her past still lingered in her mind, but seeing the anxious expression on her daughter's face, she realized this was the future they had longed for. Yes, we would love to, said Sue in a firm voice as they made their way to the community hall. Sue felt a sense of belonging she once thought was impossible. The hall was filled with laughter and chatter, a tapestry of cultures, woven together by shared experiences and hopes for the future. That evening, as they sat around the table sharing food and stories, Sue felt a profound shift within herself. Surrounded by this diverse community, she realized they were no longer just survivors of a harrowing journey. They were participants in a new adventure, a life filled with connection, understanding. And as the night progressed, the stars twinkled outside, each one a reminder of their journey, a journey that had brought them to this moment. Sue looked at Jira, who was engrossed in conversation with new friends. Her laughter mingled with the others, and at the moment Salia understood that they were no longer defined by their past. They were creators of their future. Together, they would embrace every challenge, every joy, and every opportunity that awaited them. And when the first light of dawn broke the horizon, the next morning, Salia knew that they had truly found their home. The universe was vast and full of possibilities, but here in this corner of space, they were finally safe, free to dream and prosper. Here are new beginnings, Rosalia whispered. Looking up at the stars, her heart was full of hope.